So we can now start talking about a foldable phone slash device that actually might be successful. Because we already know, we've talked about the Microsoft Surface Duo 3 enough. The Google Pixel Fold has been leaked. What's been leaked is the size and weight of the actual device. And the size and weight is actually going to be heavier than the Galaxy Z Fold 4, but it does have a larger battery, which is actually a big W. Now, going into the Google Pixel Fold, I am very skeptical about this whole entire operation. Reason why is because it's a first-gen product. It's the first time Google is venturing into a foldable phone slash device. And I will say, although I do prefer Samsung, I prefer Android over Apple, the one thing that you usually get positive in the context of Apple is product control. Because usually Samsung tries the best within a year to get a product out and, show the product off, whatever. Apple usually takes a couple years. So they usually kind of home in and beat down the problems that are, problems beforehand, right? Samsung, Google, whatever, they kind of just get a product out there and try to see how the consumer likes it. This is a problem that happened a lot with the Google Pixel, regular Google Pixel. I believe it was a Google Pixel 5a that had software problems. It was just a mess. And this is something that, kind of irks me about this idea of a foldable display by Google. The good thing is that this tech industry, when it comes to foldable phones, is not new. We're not in our infancy when it comes to foldable devices. Samsung does have 4 generations of foldable devices. Oppo has 2. Vivo has 2. We have flippable devices, so if we're going back to 2021 and I'm talking about this, then yes, I'd be more skeptical than I was nowadays. I'm more optimistic because of that reason. But I will say one thing, that it is a very tough industry to get into. And the reason why I say that is because of a couple things. Number 1 is price tag. Number 2 is durability. And number 3 is device. So when I hear that this is heavy, it almost makes me think inside, we're gonna have another situation where this phone might be good, but it never sees the limelight. The reason why I say that is because there's already people complaining heavily about the Galaxy Z Fold 4 and the size and weight of it. But if this is the biggest caveat to this phone, this is a good thing. Because as it says, it does have a larger battery, which, to be honest, is a really, really good thing overall wise. So the Pixel Fold size and weight. Precise dimension of the Pixel Fold has been already leaked, with rendering estimating how Google's device will be most similar in style to the Oppo Find N2. The two phones, foldables, will be around the same weight at 140 millimeters or 5.5 inches, but the Pixel will be wider at 20.25 inches and at just under 80 millimeters or 3.14 inches for comparison. The Google Pixel 7 Pro is a 3 inches. The Fold 4 is 6.1 and 2.64 inches wide when folded. Another device close approximation is the Surface Duo, which is 0.2 inches and 52 inches wider than the Pixel Fold. Which obviously, that's another problem people have had, which is why a lot of people haven't gone for the Surface Duo 1 or 2. It's because of the size of the actual device. They don't want a glorified tablet in their hand whenever they're going about their day-to-day life. Which, again, you might say, well, that just means that these phones aren't for everyone and they're for a very specific market. The problem with that is we need them to be for everyone in order for this market to bloom and continue. That's the problem. These phones take a lot to manufacture. They cost a lot to manufacture. We saw that with the Z Fold 4 getting leaked out and how much that costs alone. And in order for these phones to continue, we need that type of market to push them. It's why the Surface Duo 2, why Microsoft stopped manufacturing it. With all their flaws of Microsoft, they said themselves they could not manufacture. It cost too much, plus there was a chip shortage. They could not actually manufacture this device. And that's a problem, right? That's obviously a, hindsight problem where it's like, we can actually manufacture this device for one reason or another, and how much it costs, you have to make money, okay? They have to make money off these devices, so they can't manufacture 1 million units and not be able to actually, work on 1 million units. Now, the Oppo Find N2 has been very loved by a lot of people, which is a very good thing. I will say, though, that has also been one of those dual-edged swords, because some people have, there's a lot of people who dislike it because there's a lot of malware installed on these devices. So this is another thing. If Google just releases this phone in China or in European countries, will have malware like the Oppo Find N2 has. Kind of sucks, but how the Oppo Find N2 is a Chinese company, and how the Chinese government works is all the data that is collected from a company has to go back to the government. Just how it is. So that's another thing to take into consideration. For the Pixel Fold battery, one saving grace is the Pixel Fold weight is meaningful, a larger battery than competitors, especially with a 4400 mAh battery in the Z Fold 4. Oppo Find N2 has a 4520 mAh battery, and this phone, the Google Pixel Fold, will have a 5,000. We'll learn that the battery size. It will be closer, but will be under 5,000 milliamps. So it's going to be bigger than those other two batteries, which, don't get me wrong, that's amazing, right? That's a really good take, and that's a really good, amazing thing to have. I mean, the bigger battery, the better, right? Obviously. But it's just one of those things where it's like, are you just adding an extra oomph, trying to get your device out there and, add a spec sheet? Because if they say, we have the biggest battery of any foldable phone, and the battery size is 4550 or 4600, you're correct, but you're really sacrificing the weight just to add a little extra oomph onto the device. So again, like I said, it's one of those things. Now, here's why this phone could be successful. It's not because of the extra battery. It's not because of the weight. It's not because of the company. It's because of the Google Tensor G2 chip. If we're going through all of these foldable cell phones, whether it's the Fold 4, the Surface Duo 2, upcoming 3, obviously, the Oppo Find N2, the Vivo new cell phone, all these cell phones, the one common thing we could say is most of them run Android 13, and most of them have the same chipset. They might have different processing unit, but they have the same chipset for the most part. When it comes, I meant to say GPU, not they have the same pretty much CPU. A lot of them have Snapdragon processors. Okay, just it is what it is, right? It's a great chip. It's a Gen 2 chip. It's really great. Might not be a Gen 3 chip eventually. Might not. Maybe so. Anyway, sorry. I mean Gen 4, not Gen 3. Anyway, so that is what we see for the most part. Google is in the same ballpark range where Apple is. They have their own chipset that they're manufacturing. The G2 chip, obviously G1 chip was really amazing, releasing the Google Pixel, I think 6 and 6 Pro. Now they have the G2 chip. That puts them apart from other companies. Because now it's not like, okay, what's the difference on paper? Again, obviously, you look at the Oppo Find N2, look at the Z Fold 4, on paper, the exact same devices. On paper, not the device, on paper. Same gigabytes of RAM, okay, check. Same storage options, okay, check. Same colors, okay, check. On paper, same processing unit, same device, right? Batteries, very similar. Yes, you could make the argument, well, this has a body, is like this, a chassis. I don't care. on paper, they're very similar devices. When it comes to the, Google's device, they now on paper could say, well, we have a G2 chip, they have a Snapdragon. We believe our G2 chip is better. And I'll be honest, and I'm very unbiased because I don't like Google and I don't like buying Google devices. I've never owned a Google. I've owned one Google device. I've owned a 5A and it was crap. The only reason I bought it is because I'm a photographer and I love the camera system. Google does do good cameras. But with that being said, though, even if you make that whole entire argument that completely lost my train of thought. Sorry. Even if you make that argument that they're very similar devices, on paper, the Google has the G2 chip, which is better. And that's what I was actually going to say. My bad. I completely lost my train of thought. That on paper, the G2 chip is actually really good. And in reality, it is very good. I absolutely love the G2 chip completely. So, it's a great chip. And that's the positive thing in all this. Google might be successful because they have a really good processing unit. I mean, let's look at Apple when it came to the M1 chip and the M2 chips. That changed the ball game, guys. The day that Apple said we no longer have to rely on Intel to make our chipset and we can make it in-house, it gave them a leg up on the competition. It was no longer, okay, well, here's a list of MacBooks, right? Here's a list of PCs, laptops. Why are these cheaper than MacBooks? You're paying for the Apple logo. Then it changed completely to, now it's, okay, well, it's no longer the Apple logo. It's now the fact you want the M1 chip. And the M1 chip is very good and very strong and amazing. It has great performance. And that's why you went after that chip. So it changes the ballgame now that Google has this form factor, this, oomph about them that they can use this to market, right? So, again, like I said, we'll see what ends up happening. Guys, tell me down below your thoughts and opinions. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.